Hey guys, what's up? My name is Shanwein and today pag-usapan nga natin itong very interesting movie. So totoo lang guys, this is very timely. Bakit? Just a couple of days ago, nagkaroon po nga ng debate tungkol sa age of sexual consent. One of the main thing dyan kung bakit napaka-importante ng debate na yon. Hindi lang para kay Attorney Libayan but every single individual na meron pong malaking concern about sa child trafficking, about sa mga predator ng mga musmus na bata na to. And bilang tayo ang mga adult, it is our duty to protect the future of these children. Regardless kung yan man ay anak natin o hindi. The thing is, we always make sure na yung best interest ng isang bata at ang kanilang security ay lagi nating nasa priority. Anyway, so this movie was actually recommended to me while I was, during the school break, nagbakasyon po ako sa Abu Dhabi, and finally I was able to catch up with my Mama Tilay. No? Si Mama Tilay po ay napakatagal ko nang kasama sa Dubai. Siya na ang halos pangalawa kong magulang, ate, nanay, best friend, you name it, nasa kanya lahat. Anyway, so, she highly recommend na panoorin ko daw to and discuss sa aking mga vlogs. Sabi ko kay Mama Tilay, bakit? What's up with that movie? It is a movie about child trafficking. It is a silent billion-dollar industry. Yan yung sinasabi dito sa movie na to. And mind you guys, no, kung bakit very timely siya para sa atin. Philippines is becoming the epicenter of child trafficking. Another thing is that may mga pumupunta na po dito sa atin ng mga sex offender galing sa iba't ibang bansa. This is something na gusto i-crack down din, of course, ng immigration natin. So, hindi po totoo na ang mga taga-immigration mahigpit lang sa mga palabas na Pilipino. Pero mahigpit din po sila sa mga papasok na dayuhan. Okay? I don't know if you've heard of sex tourism. Na may mga tao pupunta lang sa mga bansa na available ang mga, alam mo na, para lang, alam mo na rin. Diba? Okay. At matagal na po siyang nangyayari. It is not something lang na nade-discuss openly, but marami pong nakakaalam nun, lalong-lalo na sa mga nagnenegosyo ng tourism. Isa po yan sa idinadayo ng ibang lahi sa iba't ibang lugar. Anyway, yung flow po na magiging natin, ipapanood ko muna po sa inyo yung trailer, no? Which by the way, I just like to share it with you. Showing na po siya. Hindi ko po siya pinopromote dahil ako sponsored or what, hindi. Napakaganda, lalong-lalo na sa mga magulang. I really want you to go visit any movie houses na showing siya. Hindi po masasayang ang inyong pera for watching this. Actually, makaka-open pa po ng inyong karimlan. Is that even correct? Mas lalo po kayo magigising sa katotohanan na hindi po ibinabalita, pero nangyayari siya. No? Tara guys, panoorin natin.
How'd that make you feel? Giving a child his freedom. Felt good.
By the way guys, this is a true to life story. Okay? Yung kidnapping na nangyayari sa Honduras po yan. Yung mga nakikidnap po dyan sa Honduras, ibinibenta po sa Colombia. At sa iba't ibang lugar. Okay? So gaya po nito, itong babaeng to, she pretended to be a talent scout. Okay? Then, ang mga kinukuha niya as young as 6 years old. Kunyari, kukuha na niya ng mga picture-picture, video-video, yung pala ipapadala na sabay yung mga bata, ibinibenta na. Kumbaga, sindikato sila.
Been at this for 12 years.
My country 'tis a
Okay, balik tayo. Siya si Tim Ballard dito sa movie na 'to. Okay, si Tim Ballard sa totoong buhay ay isang agent ng Homeland Security. So nagkaroon po siya ng isang assignment na ma-intercept at hulihin yung pinaka-pimp. Okay. Pero he was able to spot a PDF file. So ginamit niya yung PDF file na yon, okay, para ma-entice niya itong pimp ng bata ni Teddy Bear. Si Teddy Bear ang pangalan ng bata dyan. Si Teddy Bear, kapatid siya. Okay, balik tayo rito. Asan na yan? Kapatid siya ng babaeng to. Kumbaga, silang magkapatid, no, inabduct dyan.
country 'tis of thee.
Why are you doing it?
Sweet land of liberty.
Because God's children are not for sale.
Thee I see.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
I don't know if you've heard the voiceover.
That the world has ever seen.
Ulitin natin.
National crime network that the world has ever seen. It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing.
There was a part of this movie. Okay, there was a part of this movie na sinabi niya, ang drugs daw, tinitake lang once a day ng isang tao. Pero, ang isang victim o isang bata, ginagamit mula 5 hanggang 10 beses. So, you're even making more money from child trafficking than selling drugs. Ito yung sinasabi dito.
Honduran kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces.
And where my fathers died.
And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
Land of the pilgrims.
And yet somehow you have failed to bring me one real-world lead.
It's over, Tim. Close up and come back home.
So you quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring.
South of that river is all rebel territory. No one goes in. What if this was your daughter? So, she's gone.
Ito yung kapatid ng bata, ni Teddy Bear, na nirescue niya sa loob ng camp ng mga rebels.
Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
Sound of Freedom is one of those films that can legitimately change this world. So we want to ignite a fire in audiences and open their eyes to the dark reality of millions of children that need our help. Let's make this film a historic event and the start, the end of child trafficking. Theaters across this country are already selling out. Pre-order your tickets today and you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.
Okay guys, pag-usapan naman natin tong video na to. And even before we get into this, no, one of the things that I'd like to stress one of the things that I'd like to stress, yung part na tayo po ay nagiging epicenter ng child pornography. Okay? One of my best friends from college, who is hindi ko na alam kung anong position niya doon eh. Pero nagdi-deal sila sa issues ng child pornography in the Philippines. One of the things that I've read, very recent lang, no, article sa mga SMS, sa mainstream media, is naghihigpit na rin po ngayon ang Bureau of Immigration. Dahil may mga natatanggap na rin po silang mga news about sa mga pagpasok daw ng sex offender dito sa Pilipinas. One of the very few things na hindi aware ang mga Pilipino is yung tinatawag na sex tourism. When I say sex tourism, ito po yung isang service or kind ng service na ino-offer ng isang country. I'm not saying Philippines alone, ha? But it is something na lumalaki na. No, nagiging rampant na po ang mga ganitong klaseng kalakaran sa buong mundo. Na may mga sex offenders na pumupunta sa bansa, sa iba't ibang bansa, para lang, lalo na dito sa Philippines. You know, this is something na kailangan din natin may add sa ating mga batas eh. Dapat ma-identify po natin kung sino ang mga sex offenders. Usually, ang mga sex offenders, ito yung mga manyakis, yan. And dapat nare-rehabilitate sila. Okay? Now, bakit napaka-importante nitong story ng Sound of Freedom? Kasi hindi lang naman po sa Honduras or sa Colombia or sa Central America nangyayari ito. Sa buong mundo po nangyayari ito. This is a growing business, which is nagkakaroon siya ng growth rate ng 5,000%. Ganun siya kabilis. So mas lalo niyo pong maiintindihan kung bakit ganyan na lang pinaglalaban ni Atty. Libayan na taasan. Kung wala pa man din, kung hindi pa po nalalagyan ng pinaka-detail na age ng sexual consent. Kasi nga po nangyayari ang child trafficking. At hindi po tayo exempted doon. Maniwala kayo sa hindi. Isa po tayo sa contributor ng child trafficking. Lalong-lalo na sa mga mahihirap na pamilya, mag-aanak, tapos yung mga anak nila, it's either ganyan ang ginagawa or ibinibenta. If you remember, dun sa mga hilig manood ng Raffy Tulfo in action, meron isang tatay lumapit kay Raffy Tulfo at sinusumbong yung asawa niya. Na yung asawa daw niya ay involved sa isang online child pornography. Imagine niyo yung nanay, siya yung nakikipagtalik dun sa anak niya habang may nanonood sa kanilang foreigner. Alam niyo ba na controversial din tong movie na to? Alam niyo kung bakit? Kasi sa end nito, even before lumabas yung mga credit, ang US po, di umano, isa sa pinakamataas ng rate ng child trafficking. Diba? Anyway guys, panoorin natin itong ending of Sound of Freedom explained.
Sound of Freedom is a surprise box office hit of the summer. But what's all this talk about a QAnon connection, and how much of the story actually happened in real life? Sound of Freedom begins with the abduction of Rocio and Miguel, two young Honduran siblings who were tricked by human traffickers posing as a child modeling agency. Meanwhile, in the United States, Homeland Security Investigations agent Tim Ballard takes down pedophile Ernst Ohinsky and uses him to catch trafficker Earl Buchanan, who just so happens to be transporting Miguel. Ballard befriends Miguel and learns that his sister is also missing. After reuniting Miguel with his father, Ballard swears that he'll find Rocio. This leads him to Colombia, where he starts working with local law enforcement officer Jorge, and Vampiro, a former cartel accountant turned child liberator. With their help, Ballard sets up a sting to catch those responsible for kidnapping Miguel and Rocio, namely Giselle. Unfortunately, Ballard is forced to quit his job as an HSI agent while doing so, choosing to fight for Rocio when no one else would. While the sting itself is successful, resulting in the rescue of 54 children, Rocio is not among those saved. Eventually, Ballard learns that she was sold to a revolutionary armed forces leader named El Alacran, which translates to the Scorpion. To take on El Alacran and save Rocio, Ballard and Vampiro are forced to go undercover as doctors with UN vaccines so that they can infiltrate the rebel base in the jungle. Unfortunately, they must do this without any official support from the Colombian government, making it unlikely that they'll return. Upon reaching the river, Ballard is taken by the armed forces and Vampiro is left with Jorge. Fortunately, Ballard is able to convince El Alacran that he is a doctor and that he must help those who may be sick. While undercover, Ballard eventually finds Rocio, who is El Alacran's personal sex slave. As evening falls, Ballard infiltrates El Alacran's quarters and finds Rocio, convincing her that he's there to help her. When a drunken El Alacran arrives, Ballard is forced to kill the warlord before he and the young girl escape on foot. After dodging the armed forces and plenty of gunfire, Ballard and Rocio escape with the help of Jorge and Vampiro. Rocio is finally reunited with her brother and father. After months apart from his own family, Ballard has completed his mission and returns home to hold his wife and children. We see Rocio singing in her room, thankful to be back home. Sound of Freedom features an epilogue that shows footage of the actual Tim Ballard and his testimony to the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, explaining how he helped pass laws requiring the U.S. government to cooperate with foreign nations during sex trafficking investigations. Text on screen also states, human trafficking is a $150 billion a year industry. The US is one of the top destinations for human trafficking and is one of the top consumers for child sex. There are more humans trapped today in slavery than at any point in human history, including when slavery was legal. Millions of these slaves are children. Actual figures concerning human trafficking are hard to come by, but these statements are backed up by some data. In 2019, The Guardian reported that over 40 million people live in modern-day slavery, based on data from the United Nations International Labour Organization and the Walk Free Foundation. While not all of that is sex slavery specifically, that is certainly a component of human trafficking. Additionally, UNICEF reports that the US is considered one of the top destination points for victims of child trafficking and exploitation. As the film's credits roll, actor Jim Caviezel, who plays Ballard, encourages audiences to share the movie with others, saying he hopes that this story, like he says Uncle Tom's Cabin did with legal slavery prior to the American Civil War, might spark a resolve to help end human trafficking once and for all.
And you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.
There's no question that the fictionalized Tim Ballard in Sound of Freedom did the right thing by searching for and rescuing young Rocio. No one else was coming, and if he didn't do it, then no one would have. But why did he have to quit his job to pursue her rescue? Couldn't he have just asked for time off? In the film, Ballard and his superior Frost work alongside the Colombian government to organize a raid that will bring Giselle and the other traffickers down. But since Ballard's over-budget mission wasn't sanctioned by the US government, Frost was forced to end it. Rather than accept defeat, Ballard quits his job, with his wife Catherine's blessing, to return to Colombia and see the sting operation through.
You quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
Had he not quit, he would have been forced to return to his usual HSI duties, ultimately limiting how many children he could save. With his newfound freedom, Ballard worked alongside the Colombian authorities to organize the raid, which eventually leads to Frost convincing the US Embassy in Colombia to offer their support as well. It's certainly a risky move for Ballard to quit his consistent job for this mission, especially with a half-dozen children at home to care for. But Rocio's life and freedom were worth more to the former HSI agent than his paycheck. The exact timeline of Sound of Freedom is a bit messy since, for the most part, specific timeframes aren't discussed. The very beginning of the film shows the abduction of Miguel and Rocio, which occurs in their hometown of Tegucigalpa, Honduras. From there, the children are shipped by freight to Cartagena, Colombia. While a direct flight from Tegucigalpa to Cartagena is about 11 hours, traveling by freighter would take considerably longer. Miguel and Rocio were likely on the boat for at least a week. By the time Tim Ballard and his HSI team rescue Miguel, they believe that he's been held captive in Tijuana, Mexico, after being separated from Rocio in Colombia for some time, possibly up to 3 months. From there, Ballard works overtime to find Rocio, and after the sting operation, which in real life took months to plan and execute, they still haven't found her. Possibly months later, Ballard finds Rocio in the Amazon jungle before getting her back to her family. How much longer after the sting this took place is not clear, but it's obvious that she's been gone for a while. So ultimately, Sound of Freedom implies that Rocio had been missing for possibly over 6 months, while her brother, Miguel, was gone for about half of that time. Before being separated, Rocio gives her necklace to Miguel. This gesture gives Miguel strength during the abuse he endures and allows him to remain close to his sister despite their distance. Upon being rescued by Ballard, Miguel gives the agent his sister's necklace so that he will remember that she is out there and do something about it. Embedded on the necklace is a depiction of the Chapel of Timothy, or Timoteo in Spanish, who was a saint and early Christian evangelist. It's followed by a possible reference to the Bible verse 1 Timothy 6:11, Miguel sees Ballard's own first name as a sign that he was the one God sent to rescue them. With the pendant, Miguel commissions Ballard to save his sister. Upon rescuing Rocio, Ballard returns the necklace, symbolizing that she too is now protected from such evil. The real Tim Ballard had a similar experience, he said, when a young boy gave him the necklace after his rescue. Ballard's non-profit Operation Underground Railroad quotes him as saying, "To me, call it luck, chance, coincidence, God, whatever you want to call it. It was a message. That necklace symbolized a calling now to me. This is what I'm called to do. This is what I'll do for the rest of my life." Awful moment that comes back by the film's end. The first half of the movie builds up to the sting operation in Colombia that ends up saving numerous children. Following the successful sting operation, Ballard and Vampiro watch dozens of rescued children as they're cared for by the authorities and counselors brought in to help them adjust after such a horrific experience. The children begin to sing, and Vampiro says,
Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
So the title refers to the newly restored voice of those who have been taken and subjected to
Okay guys, super duper na. Super duper haba na ng ating spoiler. Anyway, yeah, actually that is just a very small fraction ng movie. But as I said, it is very interesting and meaningful movie. Hindi lang po kayo maraming matututunan, pero mas lalo niyo pong pahalagahan yung security ng mga anak niyo. I remember while I was actually driving back home. Sabi ko sa sarili ko, I should start asking again my siblings to teach their children to not do not talk to strangers. And ako rin, I would evangelize that too. No? It's not bad to be snub kung yun yung way for your children to be safe and secure. We don't know. I remember there was even a year na naging rampant ang kidnapping. Pero at least yun for ransom lang. Ito mga to, nawawala na yung mga bata, ginagawa pang sex slave or ibibenta para gawing sex slave. You know what I mean? And bakit nga ba hindi ito pinaboran sa Amerika, sa US? Well, for starters, because yung part na itong video na pinanood ko sa inyo, which is I highly recommend for you guys to go over and check. Okay? This was 2 months ago. In-explain exactly dito kung bakit ayaw sa states na ipalabas tong, or pinahirapan sila na ipalabas to sa states. Ulitin ko, hindi kasi nagustuhan ng US government yung mga narration sa end. Dahil napakalaking hindi naman contribution alone, but pinakamalaking factor ang US kung bakit nagiging successful ang operations ng mga traffickers na to. Okay? So I'm very sure right now na wini-work out din nila na totally hindi lang maban but to end child trafficking. And hopefully dito rin sa Pilipinas is matigil na. So mas lalo nyo ma-appreciate actually yung pinaglalaban ni Attorney Libayan na dapat ang age of sexual consent ay hindi 16 but 18. Okay? Dahil nangyayari nga po yung mga ganitong klaseng kalakaran. Kawawa ang mga bata. Yung si Miguel dito, si Teddy Bear, I think he's only 7 or 8 when he got abducted. And doon sa movie, ginawan po siya ng medical legal, in-examine siya doon. And sinabi nga na yung kanyang anus is lacerated. How much more yung kapatid niya si Rocio? Na iba't ibang lalaki na pinagpasapasahan. Diba? Kaya, it is a must-watch movie. I highly recommend. Kanina nga, Alam niyo ba ilang tao lang ang nanonood? 2 lang kami. Nung pinanood ko siya, kanina? Nung pinanood ko siya kahapon, 2 lang kami. Tapos natatakot pa. Magkalayo pa kami nun, sobrang tahimik kami kasi sobrang focus kami dun sa pinapanood namin. We want to understand yung pinakaano ng movie. Well, hindi ko siya kilala, ha. Sinasabi ko lang na dun sa oras na pinanood ko siya, 2 lang yung tao. Sabi ko, sayang ang movie na 'to kung hindi siya mapanood ng marami. Kasi napakaganda nga po niya. Talagang eye-opener po siyang movie. Again, lalong-lalo na para sa mga magulang. Anyway guys, again, maraming salamat sa panonood. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Again, I would like to invite you to watch this video para mas lalo nyo ma-appreciate sa looper. Yan, palaki natin para mas makita nyo. The ending of Sound of Freedom explained by Looper, or you can go over sa ano niya. It's a spoiler, okay? It's a spoiler. Pero for you to fully appreciate the movie, I would really highly recommend na panoorin niyo po. Again guys, I'll see you in the next video.